And you'll notice I keep inching closer and closer to you all. Before long, I'm just going to move the table. I'm a social worker, and I like to be close to people, so I don't want to be behind that podium. So we'll just kind of work things out as we go along. What I put up there is one of my favorite quotes, my patients' favorite quotes. Once a month I do an orientation to vision loss at the Moran Eye Center, and I always have this quote as a part of that orientation. And everybody is always, I see the heads nodding, yes, yes, they really do identify with this wonderful quote from Robert Louis Stevenson, who said, "Life is not a matter of holding good cards, but of playing a poor hand well." Make sense? Do you like it? Yeah. Now the only problem here is I've got to come over here to change my slide, so we'll see how this goes. So I base this talk on that quote. Playing well the hand we're dealt, and resilience in dealing with chronic conditions. Okay. This all came from 2001. And it was the summer of 2001, and some of our administrators at the Moran Eye Center asked me if I would do some sort of a program with our staff on the first anniversary of 9/11. And what they asked me to do was something on coping skills. And how do you cope with events, major events in life when they come up? And so I always do this when I'm going to put together a new talk, and I go to the literature, to the research literature, and start checking things and seeing what the newest is and all that. And I kept coming across the concept that it's important to have coping skills as things come up, but it can be even more valuable to us to learn how to be resilient in our daily lives. In other words, develop characteristics and buy into certain ways of behaving throughout normal life, so that when something comes up, we're ready for it. Do you understand the difference? Rather than, okay, you get up to this event and, got to cope here. What are my coping skills? Instead, you're living your life day to day in ways that you're just ready for whatever life dishes out. And we all know life dishes out a lot of stuff, doesn't it? Okay? So I kind of switched my focus then from coping skills to resilience. Okay? How do we become resilient people? Okay? So, this is going to be quite a trek back and forth here, isn't it? Huh? Okay, just a quick definition of resilience. Recovering readily from illness, depression, whatever life throws at you. In other words, it's kind of the ability to bounce back is what it is. And this is from Dr. Joanne Lemaistre, has written a wonderful book called After the Diagnosis. After the Diagnosis. And this is what she calls resilience, just unnecessary feistiness. We need to learn to be feisty, in the face of what life throws at us. Dr. Lemaistre is a very interesting person. She, within 3 months, she earned her PhD. She gave birth to a little baby daughter. Good things, right? These are all good things. But she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, too, within 3 months. So she comes at her topic in her book. She has walked the road. She is walking the road, and she has a lot of wisdom in that book, if any of you want to do some really good reading. When I think of resilience, I can think of so many of the patients that I work with. And again, I work with individuals who are facing blindness. Okay? They have various conditions. Sometimes it's a result of auto accidents, trauma, plane crashes, whatever. I work with families of babies who are born blind, or who are born with no eyes, or babies who are diagnosed with cancerous tumors in their eyes, and we have to remove the eyes. So I work with people who are really facing some really, really difficult things. So when I think of resilience, I think of hundreds of people that I work with. But I just want to show you one who is just such an interesting fellow, Casey McAllister. When he was 6 years old, he was hit by a truck. And it just took off his legs, just right at his body, right at his torso. And Casey didn't let anything, little thing like that keep him down. Okay, so he has played, he's gone through school, played baseball and basketball. I'm not sure how he did it, but he did it. He's been on the wrestling team. He hiked the Pacific Coast Trail. At the University of Arizona, he was on their wheelchair basketball team. He completed the Boston Marathon. He has served an LDS mission. Last time I heard, he was at BYU, Idaho. He gave his degree there. Okay? So just to me, that's a nice look at resilience. Okay? Don't you all think? Yeah. And I'll bet as you all are thinking about this thing of resilience, I bet people come to your mind. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, I feel like I'm pretty darn resilient, and good for you. Good for you. So, you know, how do we get about, or how do we get to this thing called resilience? You know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I like to think, too, when we're thinking of it from the perspective of resilience, that hope might be when the going gets tough, the tough are ready. They're resilient. They have those characteristics. So how do we think about this? I think a good way to start is by considering Viktor Frankl. Anybody know who Viktor Frankl is? Okay. Has written one of the classic books that, does that mean we're supposed to evacuate or anything? No? Are we all right? I don't know if it means fire or what. Okay. Or you're talking too long or something.
Code trauma, alert 2.
So Viktor Frankl was a teenager when the Nazis overran his country. And he was Jewish. He and his entire family, they were all put in the concentration camps. And when he was finally liberated, he was around 20, 21 years old. He was the only member of his family that has survived. His entire family was wiped out. Okay? So how do you survive something like that? You know, he survived not only physically, but emotionally, spiritually. He went on to become a psychiatrist, a world-renowned speaker and author. And throughout his time, people would say, well, how did you survive it? You know, what did you do? How do you make it through life when something like that has happened to you? And what he would always respond is, when you're faced with a situation you cannot change, your challenge is to change yourself. Okay? It's up to you to do whatever you need to do within yourself, about yourself, to manage the situation. Okay? Viktor Frankl. So he went on to write just a classic book that everyone should read, Man's Search for Meaning.
Code trauma,
okay, Man's Search for Meaning. I really recommend it. So there's the quote. When we are faced with a situation we cannot change, our challenge is to change ourselves. So again, but how? How do we do it? What do we need to do? Where do we need to be personally to accomplish this? Okay, so what I want to do, and I'm going to give you a list of these things for you to take with you. I've got a handout for you. In the research that I did, I went through a lot of the resilience literature, and there's a lot out there. And what I found was there's a lot of overlap and some of the same characteristics. So what I did is, from the literature, I pulled together 12 of the characteristics that I kept coming across all the time. And those are the things that I would like to share with you. What are the characteristics of people who play well the hand that is dealt? All right. One is people, all of us, need to let go of the myth that life is fair. It's not. It's not. But yet there are people who will get themselves stuck emotionally because they're so caught up in, this just isn't fair. How can this happen to me? It's not fair. It's just not fair. And this is normal when something happens to us first. You know, it's normal. You know, it's okay. And when things get kind of rough every now and then, it's okay. But what we've got to be careful about is not becoming enmeshed in this sort of thinking. Life is not fair. It's just not fair. Okay? I'll tell you a story. I'm going to tell you various stories as we talk. My friend Kate was going to go on a trip around the world. And so we had a little farewell party for her. And we brought little odds and ends, you know, some little things for travel, that sort of thing. One of our friends brought for Kate a little talisman for her to wear around her neck. I think it was a little pouchy thing with a stone in it or something. But anyway, Kate said to this friend who had given it to her, she said, "Oh, this is so beautiful. Yeah, I'm just really excited to have it. Will it bring me good luck?" And this other friend said, "Not necessarily, but it will help you be in harmony with your destiny." It will help you be in harmony with your destiny. And don't you think maybe that's what it's all about? That no matter what life dishes out to us, if we could just learn to kind of go with it, you know, to be in harmony with it somehow, okay? So to learn to be in harmony with your destiny, letting go of the myth that life is fair. Does that make sense? And you know, as you all have thoughts, it's fine to pop up and say, Kleinschmidt, you know, I think such and such, okay? Feel free to just jump in anywhere you want. I want this to be informal. Okay. So, people who are resilient will plan ahead whenever possible. Okay? They'll prepare a plan, generate options, adopt a problem-solving mindset. They enter into this situation with, okay, what can I do about it? I wonder, if I do this, I wonder what this happened, and if I do this, what about that? With the people that I work with blindness, people with blindness can be very independent. Okay? But it really helps if when they buy a house, it's somewhere near a bus line. Okay? That's planning ahead. Okay? Learning to ride tracks. Learning to ride, you know, front runner if they have to. Planning ahead. What can I do to make this thing work? I work, one of the support groups that I run is for a condition called pseudotumor cerebri, or idiopathic intracranial hypertension. And what that is, it's not a fun condition at all. People end up with elevated intracranial pressure, and it causes headaches, and they lose vision, and all kinds of things like that happen. And one of the things that that group has come up with is they talk about good neuro days and bad neuro days. Okay? And what they say is, okay, if they wake up in the morning and they're feeling pretty good, they'll know that's a good day to just get things accomplished. If they wake up in the morning, they're not having a good day, they accept. They say, okay, this is a bad neuro day. I'm going to give myself a break as much as I can today. So they make it okay. They plan ahead and just kind of work with wherever they happen to be with their condition that particular day. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? Yeah, just planning ahead as much as possible. Having a problem-solving mindset. I tell my patients all the time that you've got to be, if you're going to deal with this thing of blindness, you've got to be creative. You can't just be looking at things and say, well, I can't do that anymore, I can't see it. You look at it and say, okay, I can't do it the way I've been doing it all my life. How do I do this thing differently? Okay? And it's just a matter of changing that mindset. Okay? Okay, it helps to observe the traits of strong, resourceful people, learn from other people, look for good role models, develop and use a support system. One of the beautiful things about a support group is that almost always in support groups, there will be people who are a little bit further along the road, who are doing a little bit better, and they serve as good role models. There'll be those who are good problem solvers, and they'll be saying, well, what I did is I called so-and-so, and I found out that da-da-da-da, and it really helped. And that's a beautiful thing about support groups. You're just interacting, you're learning from each other, you're inspiring each other, and so on. Developing and using a support system. We all need a good support system just simply in getting through life, right? We need one. And when something like this, when life is dishing out this kind of a condition that you all are dealing with, you need your support system, okay? And if you don't have one, you need to develop it. I'll sometimes tell people, and you all may disagree with this, okay, and that's okay, but people will say, oh, my family all lives in Topeka.